Welcome to the Inside Scoop, a podcast about self improvement and knowledge seeking. Our aim is to explore a diverse range of topics and perform self checks on whether we are being the best versions of ourselves every week. I'm your host, Mario Cervelis. Let's get started. So, this week I'm joined by my co host, Oscar. Hi there,
Hi
man.
there.
It is episode 27, and for this one, we sort of decided to do something a little bit different, I guess. And first of all, before we get into it, a little announcement. We created a Facebook page, and I realized that other podcasts somehow have this some sort of a call to action. You know, they say rate our podcast like 5 stars on iTunes or something. Because
Mm.
I don't even know how it works, but uh, have you used iTunes at all
Uh,
for podcasts?
Years ago, millennia ago,
Oh, well, anyway, so if you
ancient
find
stuff.
any little rate anywhere, if you enjoy it, please leave a like or whatever the anyway. So let's get into it. For this one, we decided to do a little bit differently. It's we chose two quotes. My quote was actually a very simple one because I realized that I had it in my bio on Facebook for like years now. And I was thinking about this topic, and I don't think we've actually done any debates on the podcast here, but I think you Oscar mentioned like we could look at it from two different angles and
Mm.
almost like Plato with his fictitious no, not fictitious, what is fictional, right,
Right.
dialogues. It could almost be a discussion, a debate between us two. Doesn't necessarily mean that it represents our views completely, but I don't know. So how do we get started with this one?
I don't know. Do you want to go with your quote or how we actually came to choose these?
Yeah, sure. So I was thinking about why we do stuff in general. Why do we do what we do? It's in general in life. Why is it important, or why does the things we do matter? And I was thinking about even this podcast that we're doing is when we're connecting with each other and then sharing it out with some people. The quote reads, "A life not shared is a life not lived." And I guess, yeah, I guess I'll just ask you, how do you understand it? Like, what do you first think when you hear it?
Yeah, well, when I first heard it from you, I instantly confronted you on it, didn't I?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we had a little discussion back and forth. Um, so I think the first thing, because of I know you very well, and I know you as a person who um, shares your life through many mediums. You do vlogs, you do the podcast, you do Twitch streaming.
Mhm.
So I guess what I kind of thought when you said that is that we should all go and, broadcast ourselves to the internet 24/7.
Yeah.
So, so that's, I guess, what I thought. And then I remembered I've also heard it before, I guess, and in the light of, not in the light of, heard it as saying that, you want somebody to share your life moments with,
Mhm.
like your significant other. So I guess I'd want to ask you what it actually means to you, the quote.
Yeah, and I guess that's why we're having this conversation because I don't even remember when I wrote it into the bio. Um, and when I rediscovered it lately, I was thinking like, what does it actually mean? That's the point. Like, what does it mean to me? And actually, being honest, dude, I don't know. It is sharing your life moments, sharing your thoughts, your ideas with someone. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, again, the internet, because putting out stuff is the easiest way of sharing. But it may as well be just a close friend, and taking a little picture of something that you want to share, and then showing it to a friend. Like, I think I had something, I discovered something, and I was like, oh, that's a neat thing. So I screenshotted it and then just sent it your way. It's just something something interesting that I feel like might benefit you, for example, and that's already sharing, you know. It's all you need just to share it over a private message, for example. So I don't really have people around me right now physically, you know, because it's the quarantine situation. But yeah, sharing is not necessarily limited to what the social media way of sharing means, you know.
Right.
And
So you think of it as if you share something, it might help somebody in some way.
well, yeah, that's kind of the point, I guess. It depends, although yeah, it depends. Like it is driven by the ego of people, I would imagine, as you want to get some sort of a validation or recognition or something. Although, well, yeah, and that plays nicely into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is, you know, at the very top, you do need self-actualization, some sort of a self-expression. And for some people, self-expression, you know, maybe dancing; for others, maybe singing; for others, I don't know, any sort of activity, right? I think for me is just sharing whatever, like talking to people, making stuff. I don't know. Yeah, that's why I really even wanted to make a vlog about this, to try and put everything in a script, to put it out and understand what it means. So this is I guess a primer for that little movie that I'm planning to make, I guess. But yeah, what do you think about sharing? Like, have you ever shared most of your life with, like, I don't know, someone?
Well, so I mean, in terms of sharing the way you do, I'm more of a reserved person. I'm more of an introvert, so I'm quite the polar opposite of you.
Mm-hmm.
So until I came on your podcast for the first time and then came on regularly, I wouldn't expose myself that much on the internet.
Mm.
So in that sense, um, that's a new journey, and so maybe I can lead with my quote that was also on my Facebook, um, on my cover photo as my cover photo, and
Okay.
it is from Plato, and it goes, "Wise men speak because they have something to say, and fools because they have to say something."
Oh, it's a very good one.
So I guess I kind of stuck by that for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
um, just because I preferred um, spending time with my own thoughts and wouldn't like to necessarily talk about things that I wasn't very sure about.
Mm.
And until I guess the podcast, that would keep that up. But with the podcast, I learned to kind of explore the ideas um, with a second person, whether they are true or right or correct or not.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I have heard this quote before, and I do agree with it a lot. And that's why I was battling this, you know, inner feeling of like, wait, what does it mean? You know, like, so they say if you speak, then but then who who's supposed to speak? You know, like, it does make sense that you have to shut up in order to listen and maybe hear something, find out something new. I guess my way of learning is more of like a two-way conversation, you know, just speak whatever I know, but at the same time, as we've already established in this, you know, podcast over the 26 whatever episodes, right, is that we come into the conversation with an open mind and more of a humility, I guess.
Hmm.
The the theme of our conversations for the past few weeks were Socratic ignorance. I would say that's the biggest thing that pops up, and yeah, I think employing that mindset really helps. Just admit that, you know, I don't know most of the things, even if I'm talking about them, and if I'm talking about them, I'm trying to almost put a disclaimer out saying, well, that's not my expertise, thus I'm not stating it as facts. I've never really went out there and said, you have to, I don't know, eat some sort of a oak leaf to be healthy or something, right? Because this is a definite fact that someone tries to tell you, and I don't know if it's correct or not. And I think as long as you, as I said, employ this mindset, you should be fine, because other people may come in and help you and correct you. On the other hand, if you come out there claiming that you know everything, you're probably
Yeah.
just going to make a lot of enemies, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
perhaps we should have a disclaimer even at the beginning of the podcast. I know some podcasts do.
Mm-hmm.
But also I think it's very useful, and I'm really glad for the podcast and being here with you and having these discussions, because it really means that it challenges you to rethink whatever your stance is when you have to explain it to somebody else. When you have to, explain your stance to somebody else, you really have to have a good understanding of what you're talking about and have some ground, and something to back it up with.
Oh yeah.
And
Over the past year, sorry to
yeah, that's
interject,
fine.
but over the past year, I've discovered that, uh, well, in the past 2 years, I guess, and I've been trying to correct it, right? I've discovered that I sometimes say something, and then when the person confronts me, I was like, oh, wait, actually, yeah, you may be right. I've never really had such, I don't know, people who would just ask questions like, where did you get this research from? Or like, did you triple check the sources? Or do you really think that it's that? So it's been a very good learning material to just understand that, yeah, I would imagine that most of the things that we talk about is just something that, none of us really know what's up. And I think we have established this, that in general in the universe here, there aren't all that many definite truths, like something that's correct and not couldn't be disproven or something. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Sort of, I feel like even in science, studies come out and then people will start using um, the newest findings, and then some other studies come out and then they realize, oh, maybe the previous findings were a bit like, they were correct, but then maybe a bit like incorrect. So I just feel like a conversation doesn't necessarily have to be, well, it doesn't have to be a scientific article. If you have a
Yeah.
conversation with a person, you are socializing. And
Yeah.
the podcast title, which is The Inside Scoop, is almost like having, I don't know, I'm going to say it's going to sound weird, but it's almost like, I guess, having a dinner with someone, sitting down and then feeding each other your insights.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but it's like, and then you sort of give a little taste to the other person of what you have in your mind, and then the other person sort of shares their ideas, shares their thoughts and their knowledge, and then you sort of, you know, you learn from each other. I guess that was my goal, I would imagine.
Well, we keep each other in line, definitely. We make sure that we don't get stuck in our own bubbles of, thinking about the world in a certain way. Because we, constantly try to present opposing views just to challenge each other on here. And so I think that's a healthy way to keep yourself in check.
Yeah.
And I guess the purpose of this podcast also is to be the best version of yourself that you can be, and trying to encourage each other to be so, and hopefully the audience as well.
Oh yeah. I would imagine
And
that being. Oh, sorry. Continue.
yeah, and that is part of it, I guess, too, mentally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like even if not for anyone else, it's just for ourselves. Something like, having to admit that, well, being selfish, thinking about this selfishly, if not for anyone else, you gotta do something that helps you, I guess. So in this case, it's like we're doing this for ourselves, but at the same time trying to help out other people. Don't know, it may sound weird, yeah, but
I think we're doing the podcast and it's just very convenient for us that we have to be producing something that's interesting. We hope we are, and that means we have interesting conversations between ourselves too because of that. They're
yeah.
actually meaningful. That are more than or.
Yeah, that's true. And again, why does it all even matter? I think as I said, I'll try to do the the film about that and think of why things like that are important, because I was thinking about working for a barely noticeable impact, for example. Even streaming or something where you have one viewer, you have two viewers or three, whatever, right? It's like still, maybe that is meaningful to the person. Maybe they
Mm,
come to hang out. Maybe, and as I say, dude, this was proven somehow to me when I did the most obscure, weird vlogs back in like high school. And I thought who would care about them, right? But I was doing them just so I would learn. And after it all, I have had people messaging and say, "Oh, by watching your vlogs, I sort of made up my mind to which high school I want to go because I saw this, and then you showed like how it works in there, so I really liked. It seemed cool and stuff, and I was like, wow, that's nice. So like maybe some people do get value, and even if it's like one in a million, still that is impact. And as Gary Vee used to put it out everywhere, one is greater than zero. And I think that's what's important, because if you go out there every day thinking that one is greater than zero, right? Then
yeah,
you're gonna be motivated to do even the most simple things, I would imagine.
right. So I don't know if you would want to talk about the plans that you have for the podcast for the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, we'll have to check in with how it's all going and how the progress is. I would imagine that the main plan right now is to keep it clean, keep it lean, make a welcoming space for people who want to chat. And if you like what you're hearing, it's just a conversational piece, something for y'all to join in and pick your brain a bit on it. So if there's anyone who, by any chance, decides that they want to come on, just leave us a message. And as I said, we do have a Facebook page. It's at TIS podcast, which is the Inside Scoop podcast abbreviation, and just let us know. I mean, I'm also finding that this is a very interesting driver for conversations, right? Because the way I
Yeah,
started with Patch, for example, the way that podcast originally started is like that was just so interesting to talk to the guy, and it's like just cool to discover new people and have conversations. So as a guy, I'm just like waffling on about, but
yeah.
you know,
I guess we want to create a little community here. Um, have people on. If you have something interesting to say, definitely come on, speak to us.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the one. And keeping it short for today, I think that is sort of a little primer, an introduction to what's hopefully going to happen over the upcoming weeks, which is we're going to be trying to get people on, have engaging conversations, and try
what burning topics?
burning topics, simmering topics, or cold topics. It doesn't matter. And again, I think I didn't mention this, but this is a podcast, a place for. Again, I really dislike censorship, for example. I don't agree with any sort of, hate, but all of the other censorship where like people think that certain topics are taboo to discuss, my personal opinion is conversation should be the best way to try and solve it. No violence. We need conversations these days. Because otherwise, we're just going to stop communicating with each other, close our doors, and just, put up fences around our houses and all that, right? And just forget that everyone's just a human, just like us. So I think that was, yeah, I didn't mention it, but that was also one of the original ideas, to try and create a place where, people could freely speak their minds and,
Yeah.
not be afraid of, again, with all the social culture and everything, it's kind of hard to, speak out these days and not get into any sort of controversy or something. But, as long as you're not, out there, I mean, yeah, I think even controversies, we could discuss them, but in a very objective manner without emotional involvement, I guess, and any sort of blind beliefs. So as long as we're open-minded, as long as we're open for discussion, I think that's the place. I think that's what the Inside Scoop hopefully is and is going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Come together in solidarity here.
Beautiful. So that's our why. Because I was meaning to answer the why for quite a while now, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's been us. That was a little, as I said, primer introduction. And is that all? Have anything else, Oscar?
That's all from me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and see you next week.
Thank you.